Speaking of which, we are going to move on to our final of our 3 nominees now. He is a PhD student from the University of Navarra in Pamplona, Spain. Please welcome to the stage Andrea Roncella.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. So the idea behind this paper came to my mind when I was reading the inaugural speech of the Schwarzman College of Computing, here on the picture. That is the MIT New Artificial Intelligence Hub, where the president of the prestigious university claimed that the world needs bilinguals. That means engineers with better education in the liberal arts, able to build ethical products and platforms in order to develop responsible innovations. For this reason, the MIT set up an interdisciplinary faculty that researches and teaches disciplines ranging from the STEM subjects to the social sciences and humanities. A similar concern that nowadays is unresolved, to me, characterizes the financial innovation process. As a consequence of the 2008 financial crisis, we can say that there has been a special effort to include business ethics courses in the business schools, in the curricula of School of Economics, of Management, of Finance, and that, of course, is a very good news. However, this article asks whether the current debate on finance and ethics is missing a key point. The world of financial innovation is largely underpinned by technological innovation, as expressed by conferences and events like this one, on one side, and on the other by the widespread of new roles, such as the quants, the financial engineers. So while the technical knowledge is obviously central to the educational process of the people who will fulfill these roles, our article highlights the need for a kind of education that takes into account a humanistic component in order to stress and to integrate the non-quantitative dimension of finance, of its products, and of its institution. The statistics we collected suggest that an increasing number of students with technical background are turning their attention to professional careers in finance, usually making this transition through an academic experience such as a master's degree in financial engineering. Now, the interesting thing is that we underline in our research is that the curriculum of some of the best universities in financial engineering offer courses that are very highly specialized and apply mathematical and physical science models to disciplines such as financial risk management, financial modeling, derivatives structuring. Among them, however, only the MIT and the Imperial College of London offer a business ethics course. In contrast, if we take a more classical path toward the financial industry, as an MBA, it's possible to see how nowadays the best MBAs in the world all offer business ethics courses, and almost 70% of them are actually mandatory. So the current situation, I think, can be well coached by the words of these popular business ethics scholars, who says that financiers and traders are subject to ethics oversight and professional code of conduct, while the quants, and I could say the financial engineers, are left to operate in relative ethics vacuum. This is due, to me, to two main reasons. One is the technological advancement, and the second one is the mathematization of economics. In particular, the mathematization of economics, I think, is the most problematic. Since the 19th century, actually, the economics as a science has been featured by the principle of non-overlapping magisteria, the NOMA principle, which establishes that economy is a free values subject. Of course, if you think that this principle actually features economics, you can understand that the same idea held true for finance and even more for financial engineering. Conversely, this article claims that there is no technical analysis that should be devoid of ethical considerations. To support our suggestion, we take advantage of an anecdote that happened to the great Russian nuclear physician, that is Andrei Sakharov. During the Cold War, Sakharov was really plagued by the images of 2 deaths due to a nuclear experiment and expressed the hope that Russian weapons would never explode on cities. The high official, the military, who ran the experiments replied that the task of scientists was to improve the weapons. How they would be used was not their concern. Sakharov replied to this, saying that this is not possible to deny the existence of a common human faculty by someone called as conscience that allows one to acknowledge what concerns human beings and which takes precedence before any kind of specialization. So the history of Sakharov and the official is enlightening, since it underlines the moral responsibility that also financial engineers and quants, as technicians, they do have. So the detachment between the moral responsibility of a technician and the technical specialization can become even more problematic if we consider that there is a risk that the composition and the structures of the networks behind this financial innovation may suffer a risk of abstract knowledge, also called reification. By reification, we mean that the facts, the real world, is actually secondary to theory, and if there is a discrepancy between theory and reality, it is reality that should step aside. And we think this idea is well caught by the words of one of the most famous and popular quants, Paul Wilmot. The reason behind this problem is, on one side, the lack of openness in the innovation processes, because these innovation processes usually happen within private financial institutions, and university and research centers are usually oblivious to them. And on the other side, the homogeneity of the actors involved. Usually the authors who stress these kind of problems underline the role, the supposed role that the university should play towards creating a more integral financial innovations. However, this proposal to me clashes with the reductionism that actually features the university curricula of financial engineering, as we have shown before. The idea that we try to propose in this article is that is the result of an original mixture, I would say, of positive psychology and virtue ethics. Virtue ethics is a stream of ethics that is drawn in particular upon the insight of Aristotle, and in particular with regard to the practical wisdom. According to Aristotle, practical wisdom is the virtue of choosing the right means to the right ends. Along this line, we propose, first of all, to rethink the education of a financial engineer by identifying those moments in the decision-making process where ethical issues can actually emerge. And this could be done through the use of role models whose example can stimulate students' aspirations. A real case that could work for our aim is, for example, that of Markopoulos, the quant who first unveiled Bernard Madoff's Ponzi scheme. His case is very remarkable to underline both his quantitative knowledge as a financial mathematician and these epistemic virtues of courage, in particular, to ask questions where others kept silence. So to summarize, in this article, we firstly wanted to take stock of the problem behind financial engineering education, underlying the philosophical and practical reasons why it is urgent to delve into the moral character of quants and financial engineers. Secondly, we try to briefly sketch some ideas that can hopefully contribute to define a future framework. First of all, to rethink the financial engineering education through the lens of virtue ethics, in particular leveraging the practical wisdom. Second, to involve more universities and academic research in the process of financial innovation. And third, to adopt best practices and standards of conduct, for example, taking advantage of role models. The hope is that just like physics or neuroscientists, men and women involved in financial innovation could become bilinguals too. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm available for any question. Thanks.
Wonderful. Grazie mille, Andrea. Wonderful. Great presentation. So,